It's a new night and a new boat. The Explorer 2 now sets sails on Ark World, powered by Ark the Sunken World.
And today, I become Aquaman. Next on World.
Welcome back to the Explorer 2. Wondering why it's called Explorer 2? Check out the last video. Explorer 1 met with an epic but tragic ending, and if you caught any of my architecture series, you know that I greatly appreciate my rafts on Ark. So I took a little time to rebuild the boat, and since I needed one, went ahead and got myself a new shark as well. This one's called Red. But more than just animals and transportation, I want to spend a little bit of time exploring some of the other features that the mods have done a really good job in implementing here with the Sunken World mod. I want to take a look at some of the Sunken World specific crafts and items that they have added to just give this game a whole lot of depth, pun intended.
Now, finally, after much experimentation, these are the plants that we need to actually pull to get seagrass from. I searched underwater for hours, and finally, it's these things up on the surface that gives you seagrass, as well as a lot of berries that we'll talk about later. I am just kicking myself, but I'm happy we found it. If you missed last week's episode, basically what we are focusing on building today is the sea scale armor. This is a new addition with the Sunken World. It's basically the official uniform they're trying to put out with bonuses for this mod. It is something that requires two new resources, sea scales and then the sea grass, which is what I was hunting when Explorer 1 went down. So, after I reclaimed the resources, now we're finally putting the stuff together. It looks like hide armor, and I'll explain why it is. It's temporary, but it puts together in the similar amounts, and it's a suit that gives buffs and superpowers, essentially, for this Sunken World map. And it's pretty sweet. Let me go ahead and get this put together, and I'll give you the test run walkthrough.
So once you got the skins actually made, right now temporarily this is what this looks like. The devs I've spoken to, and they've actually said that they wanted to get the functionality of the C-scale armor in, but they haven't been able to finish the actual drawing of what it will look like. So what they have done is created a second set of hide armor as the base, and they've given it a color texture change. But what's more importantly is that the skill buff is still included. So take a look at this as it is a temporary, short-lived function. And by function, let's focus in on that. So if you take a look in here, it's called Primitive C-Scale armor, of course. And if you read through this, it notes that it will keep you warm while providing a boost to swimming speed for each piece equipped. Current swim speed is 50%, and that's because I've got all 5 pieces on. I'm fairly certain it's like probably 10% boost for each piece of armor. And then another big bonus is that it regains stamina. In fact, that's probably the biggest bonus that you can think of, because normally while you're swimming, your stamina decreases. And in fact, my stamina does decrease even while wearing this. But even if I'm just floating, then my stamina would be stable or down. This armor allows stamina to start to increase, as you can tell, while you're in the drink. So that's a great feature, and I do thank you for that. Now, there's another big, huge variable that we need to do, is we've got these things. No, not poop. It's the Amaclaris. I know I'm probably butchering that
So
name,
what
and I'm
these
sorry.
things are a creature that basically acts as a living, breathing tank. And that is a great idea. You have an animal that acts as scuba gear. It takes blood to tame. It takes a fair bit of blood. Now that's probably like every other animal connected to what level of animal you're taming. So if you're low on blood, and I mean the blood sacs and stuff that you draw from other players or from yourselves, this one took about 20. I'm trying to remember. That was one of those things that I did the work and I was not going to make you watch that tame. Take a look here. So once you've got the thing tamed, you pick it up. This operates very much like an otter. I'll give you a look on the back here. You know, I like the light effects here. Now I'm very quickly going to go ahead and get into the drink here. Now, most importantly though, if you take a look to the stats on the right, you'll notice that my oxygen bar is going pretty steady here. Okay, it's going down just a little bit, but it's extremely slow. Much slower than anything than if I were on my own. So this is a great option, and I think it's brilliant. Now I will go ahead. It took me a little bit of experimentation to figure this out as well. When you get back to shore, these things are do not swim near the Sarco. Do not swim near the Sarco. All right, once you get back to your raft, your base, whatever you want to call it, if you're going to get out of the water for an extended time, then what you're going to want to do is hit double F, just like you would with your otters and other animals we've worn around our necks before. That will release him. You're going to want to keep those things in the water. They do take damage. They do, uh, I haven't seen it die yet, but I'm assuming they die if you are, out of water too long. So a little fail safe on that. E to pick up, double F to throw off, keep them in the drink, enjoy their benefits. I stumbled upon the sunken variant of berries and stuff when earlier I was trying to make some narcotics. And I noticed that when trying to do this, when I was trying to pull narco berries, and I just did a fast draw from the mortar and pestle, some of this salmon weed came up. And then I actually read the comments, and yeah, that makes sense because if you read through this, it says it's a fairly common orange seaweed that makes you sleepy when you eat it. So that's trying to even give you a hint that this is the sunken variant of narco berries. Okay, so that's gotten me thinking then. All right, so they've gotten sunken berry variants on here as well. Let's take a look at some of this stuff. Now I can also tell you that from the fact that sea scales are here, okay, sea scales are a sunken variant of hide, as demonstrated from we've needed a lot of sea scale to make our armor. Now we'll go ahead and kind of go through what we can discover with some of this stuff. Now if we're noticing here in a pinch, this consumable cellarweed. This can be used in a pinch to recover food, stamina, lose torpidity, but it will dehydrate you. So I believe we can declare cellarweed then as the sunken variant of stem berries. Based on its color and the fact that statements here about magnaweed, its juices approve almost every meal, I believe we can safely classify that as the sunken variant of majoberry. If we look through here, we see this blue weed called calorweed can be used to make blue dye. So that would logically be the sunken variant of azaleberry. Vinweed can be used to make red dye. So that would be the sunken variant of Tintoberry. More importantly, that would make this the sunken item to use to make health brew, to make medical brew. So that's a very good one to keep handy, is the Venue weed. Flavoweed specifically states that it can be used to make yellow dye. So that would make that the sunken variant of Amberberry. Seagrass specifically cites that it's perfect for making thread, cloth, or rope. And if we take a look here, we show that hide is usually fiber and hide. And we've already discussed how C-class armor uses seagrass and scales. So that would show how the scales are the sunken variant of hide, and seagrass are the sunken variant of fiber. Now, I'm uncertain of kelp because it says it's unhealthy for humans unless cooked into a meal. But it does cite that it's usable for land and sea herbivores. So I think that might be a sunken addition to give a crop specifically for your animals. And while I'm here, let me also explain one other variable. My gloves are going to look like old traditional hide gloves because there's a mod that I really appreciate called Dino Tracker. And what Dino Tracker basically does is gives you an in-game smartwatch in which you can search through, if you've got a lost dino, then for you or your entire tribe, you can just punch through that. If you're looking for a particular type of dino even, it's great if you're hunting a specific thing. If someone is lost, you can find them. Death point, okay, it's got a good searchability GPS on it. It's the most friendly dino tracker I have ever found, so I really recommend that. To give you an example of the wild dino here, you can search it up by type, which is nice. Dodo. Might look into that. Could use the eggs. I'll do it underwater because I think the light contrast will help. Alright, so you can take a look and you see it's great for hunting wild dinos, and I'll use this as an example, but the exact same functionality is how you find your tribe's dinos, how you find your death point, your caches, and that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and look for an otter, because let's say I want something that will help keep me warm. Alright, well then this device will create a spinning triangle to point you in the right direction. And when you get even close, it'll give you a rally drop point at that point as well. So it's a simple mod that I've never seen it have any difficulties with. So I really appreciate that. And usually what I wind up doing is to craft the item in game, this wristwatch here that you see as a skin on the gloves. And because, I'm dealing with the hide remix here, it just reverts back to the old hide color, but I still have the full functionality. It only costs like one piece of metal and one piece of hide, so it's a fairly cheap in-game build, and I really like the functionality for it. So that's called Dino Tracker, if you like that yourself. And when you put it all together, you get something that looks like this, and I think it's absolutely fantastic, and I love it. I do not claim to have discovered everything about this map, so if you have more tips and tricks about it, go ahead and drop those in the comments. Let's learn together. Now, if you like the tips and tricks that I have provided, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, because I will be continuing to explore the new sunken worlds of this map. If you want to see more, that's what playlists are for. I'm Commander Tom, and I will see you next time. Thanks.